Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call
you
Call
sponsor.
your
Call you
sponsor.
sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call.
You know, there is a
yes.
designated leader. There are followers. There are specific rules. You know, I had at one point Googled cults and AA, and what actually surfaced wasn't Pacific Group, but a very similar group that is compared to them, which is called the Midtown Group, which is out of the like DC area. One leader, it's very similar. One leader, rules around medication, you know, from the neck up. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually came from, you know, was a rollout from the Pacific Group, because it was like literally identical, but with a different face.
Well, and that's what I heard too. So in doing research for this, there's the Atlantic Group, which is the same thing, right? Pacific Group and Atlantic Group, which is on the East Coast. And I had a sponsee that was in a Rolling Stone article from something really bad that happened with the Atlantic Group. Again, go do your own research. It's too much to even get in here. But while doing the research for this, I saw that people are very concerned that there's an offshoot of this in Great Britain. And I don't even know what it's called, but there's all these people posting like, oh no, like this is happening there, and it's being infiltrated by the wearing of dresses and the suits. And I've never heard no medication from the neck up except for with that group. I've never heard it outside of that group. So another experience I had, this was really funny, was when I got here. And there was another girl that had just moved here, and we were looking for a meeting, and another girl was like, oh, let's look. And we look on, and there's some meeting on that Friday night. We were all trying to like go have dinner and then go to a meeting, and it said PYG, which I couldn't figure out what PYG was. I still don't know what it is, but I should have known that meant PG, Pacific Group. But so we go to this meeting and we get in, and again, people were directing where to sit, and I was like, I don't understand this. And then some woman said, I'll bring the topic. I'm getting married this weekend, and he and I want different things for where we should be registered. I'm like, oh, wait, what? How is that an AA topic? What are you talking about? And then I went up to go to the bathroom, and this woman was like, no, sit down. I was like, oh no. We do not tell me to sit down. Nobody puts baby in a corner. I don't think so. And my friend finally leaned over and was like, this is a Pacific Group. I'm like, well, this is meaning that I'm leaving. And I stomped out. You know, I was all of 14, 15 years sober. Stomped out up the steps, threw my jacket over my shoulder, looked back and said, well, I never. They got my 2 cents.
Interesting. I wonder if I'm making up that the Y means young, but I don't. That doesn't make sense. But maybe
it could. No, it could have been. It could have been. You should have seen my brain trying to figure out, not knowing it was Pacific Group. Like, pussy, like I was like, I don't understand.
Oh my God. Yeah. So here's the deal. Like for me, so as somebody in recovery, I understand that my brain and the way I think of things and the way I react can be very extreme. All or nothing, now or never, you know, uber, you know, what are they use? Tightly knit and quote unquote serious / rigid, right? Versus like loosey-goosey, fly by the seat of my pants, whatever happens type thing, you know? And I think for me, the spiritual journey is an individual journey that is, you know, helped for me through community, you know, which then redirects me back inward to me, you know, and I end up with a higher power finding what that middle is, you know, and when there is such an extreme group like this, it is a bit scary because I see it bleeding everywhere. And it is not ultimately the principles of the program. This, telling people what to do and how things should be and blah, 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 and all of these things. It's, I guess it works for some people. I tend to be really hard and rigid on myself to begin with. So being around other rigid people like this would not work for me at all. I would probably go crazy with that many, you know what I mean? Like I literally, because, my mom was a perfectionist, so I could karate chop the pillow better than anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And those creases, they will be perfect. So imagine me in a room with other people karate chopping that same pillow. Oh my God, we would be karate chopping the same pillow, adjusting it because the light and the and the brushing and the lint brush and I got a better lint brush and you know what I mean? It would literally be a disaster.
And I'm like, throw the pillow on the floor. There's my solution.
Yeah, you're like, F the pillow, really.
Exactly. And I think you made such a great point because that is part of the appeal. I know that people walk in the rooms and are longing for discipline. They're longing for someone to tell them what to do. They're longing for someone to say you're bad. It feels familiar.
Yes.
You should have done this. You should be doing more. Why aren't you going to more meetings? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you say that?
Yes.
I mean, it's a very appealing, even though it may not sound that way on some level, it's appealing. And it talks about in the big book, like we let God discipline us. No human power, people.
No human power. It says in Bill's, and it's also in our 10th step in the 12 and 12. It talks about, in Bill's story, it says, he had to test his God consciousness. Right. And in 10, it's, 10 and 11, where the meditation comes in, right, it's like I'm in touch with a higher power. I have a connection. That's the purpose of the book, and yes, the most spiritually advanced people also check in with others to confirm the download, so that I'm not the guy on the street corner with the, bearing a cross in the crosswalk telling everyone to go to AA,
Right.
So there's that piece. But when the direction is from outside of me, that is clear. That is really not the program, because it's two-sided. It becomes big shotism on one side for the person that is delegating and delivering the directions. And then on the other side, it is to not have any connection. It's literally recreating the mom and dad situation that they grew up into. Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of talk about how we pick people who remind us of our parents or the dynamic that was there that we didn't get healed in friendships or sponsorship or romantic things. And if they're doing the work, there's a chance for healing. But if they're not, all we're doing is re-traumatizing ourselves.
Yep. Recreating. Same dynamic.
With no chance of healing.
No.
And I'm really grateful that I'm not drawn to the disciplinary method.
Yep. And
I recoil as if from a hot flame, and I have ever since someone tried to do that. I gravitate towards the ones that are kind and self-loving. And then I get to implement that as well. And I find, oh my gosh, I find so much when I'm like, yeah, the answer is being kind and loving. People are like, probably not. That's probably not it. I'm probably sure I just need to be hard on myself. So I know there's an appeal there, but, and I'm fine with them being the Pacific group, I really, really am. I just want them out of our umbrella. I want them under their own reign and to stop pretending that they are part of what we do. They break so many traditions, so many concepts. They go against the literature. Go be Pacific group. Get out of our umbrella.
The one last thing that is coming to mind is this Uber structure, which, I love a Google grid and an Excel spreadsheet, color coded. Like,
Yes,
sign
you
me
do.
up. Like, just look at my
Love
calendar.
it.
It's all color coded. And I know from my own experience that this, sometimes I'll see sponsors give their sponsees like a checklist, the bridey checklist. Did you pray? Did you, whatever, like, brush your teeth? Like, what are those things that, reach out, call 3 people, like all that, the checklist. And I know from my experience that I have created some structures and implemented structure in my life where it's become too much structure, where the structure becomes a self-imposed prison again. And so for me, the direction is always inward. It is always getting connected to me. And I think in another episode, we spoke about God and, higher self, which I love how you said that, like to connect with my higher self today, because tomorrow I'm ever changing, ever evolving.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been thinking about this with this podcast. Is just that I need to put a big disclaimer that whatever I say, my experience, strength, and hope with myself is that 2 months from now, I could have a completely different opinion. I could be the leader of Pacific Group 2 months from now. Okay.
Oh my God. I would die. I would love that. I would sign up, actually.
I think Pacific Group actually needs to be charging.
Well, actually, it also needs to be run by a woman, being in the Barbie age, right?
Hello, just saying. So yeah, I do know that my opinions absolutely change as I grow, as I get more information, and that is part of recovery. Yeah. Like, I think being closed-minded and not being willing to have your opinions grow with more information, I don't want that life. So yeah,
always subject to change.
Yeah.
So I think we've reached our final 5. I feel like I can go on about this. I really would love to go into like some of the stuff that I heard, and I'm just going to let go of that. You could
but give a shout out to our email so that people can send us
bcysponsor@gmail.com. bcysponsor@gmail.com. So you can just ask us more on the side. So we're at the final 5. Do you have a question? Do you want me to ask a question? I don't really know.
You go first.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Okay. My question is, well, part of I guess it's a continuation of this conversation is, where is an area in your life that you've found yourself rigid and are either seeking or finding more balance?
That's a good one. I have been very rigid, and I'm not sure if I talked about this before, that I was born an alcoholic and that I have bad wiring, and all of us are just born messed up and have bad wiring. And that has changed for me in the last few years, where I feel like all of us are born perfect children of God. And that along the way, I experienced shame, and then I've armored up. I've armored up to get through this life and developed ways of coping that are no longer serving me and I can let go of. And so that's what I'm exploring, opening my mind about today. How about you? I'll ask the same question.
That's beautiful. So something that I've been rigid and opening up and or finding balance with is, God, there was a long time when I first came in, she used to talk about judging the judgers, and I think that that's been me. And I'm really awakening to the fact that there are many, to your point, there are many different experiences. They're all valid. Some work more so for others than don't, right? I know what my experience has been thus far. And, my job is to continue to stay open and explore and be curious and stay connected. And to not pass, I guess, as much judgment, because ultimately I know for me that judgment ends up coming back internally.
So good. So good. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. I mean, I've said whatever I judge, I become. So I know the minute I judge a woman for sleeping with somebody else's husband, it's going to be on my list. I will be in the other shoes going, oops, how'd I get here? So now when I see that, I just go, yep, she can do her own thing. She got her own spiritual lessons. Who am I to judge? But also had a sponsee that was being really hard on herself for judging. And I'm like, our minds do that all day, all the time. Like we're not capable of not judging. And it does say stick with the winners. I do have to watch who's, doing the deal. And there's a certain amount of judgment that it's equanimity, It's when I'm judging because I think I'm better than. That's when we get into dangerous territory, and I will end up becoming whatever I judge.
If that isn't a fact. This was awesome. I'm so grateful for you and that we get to do this together.
I'm so grateful too. You're the perfect co-host.
Looking forward to the next one.
All right, see you soon.
Your
Bye.
sponsor.
Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor.
Your
Call you sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor.
New episode
Call.
tomorrow. Send us an email, bcysponsor@gmail.com.